Take a good look at it. This is neither a drawing nor an exaggerated representation. It's a real MRI, showing the fingerprint of a brain under every time you tell yourself that you are a little burned, that stress is simply the price of success, or that you will rest on vacation. You are giving permission to your system, biological to brick, the architecture of your memory and your control. Emotional chronic stress is not a sensation, it's an engineering process. Inverse in your brain is the system operating against itself. Today we are not going to talk about relaxing or breathing deep or things that will only waste your time. Today you will understand science, raw from your own final biological cell. I will give you the zero protocol, the exact system to stop this atrophy and recover your cognitive ability before the changes structural. Go from being a warning to being something totally irreversible. To understand why this is happening to you, we must look back. Let's start with the silent reflex of the hypothalamic axis, pituitary adrenal in a state of survival. Ancestral, this system was your lifeline. If a predator was you, sent an immediate alarm signal. Your adrenal glands pumped cortisol and adrenaline to prioritize your muscles and vision. At that time, you didn't need to digest food or solve equations. You needed to run. But the problem is that your brain has not evolved at the pace of technology. In full, 2026, your boss, a notification at 11 p.m. or traffic jam. Activate exactly the same biochemistry than that predator. The problem is that now the tiger never leaves. Live in your cell, live on your laptop, and that cortisol, which should be a 30-second burst, has become a steady flow, is no longer a warning sign, is a modulator. Genetic that is rewriting how they work. Your cells, when cortisol chronically floods your system, crosses the barrier, hematoencephalic, penetrates the membrane of your neurons, and binds to glucocorticoid receptors. This is where what the neurobiologists call synaptic catastrophe. Elevated cortisol blocks the capacity of your astrocytes to clean the glutamate. The glutamate is the processor of your brain, the person in charge of making your neurons trigger information. But in excess 8 is an oxygen maintains. Open the calcium channels of your neurons in a manner that permanent. This phenomenon is called excitoxicity. Calcium enters uncontrolled in the neuron by enzymes it contains. Degrade the appearance from within is of cellular vulnerability, where your overt neurons begin to fail. It's not mental fatigue. It's not that you need more coffee. It's that your cells have forgotten how and are collapsing under their own weight. Metabolic to this, we must add the appearance of the prefrontal cortex. Yale University research have shown that chronic stress slightly disconnects high-level circuits. This region is responsible for your executive function, or ability to ignore and decisions based on logic and not on fear. Under the effect of cortisol, communication between neurons in the cortex prefrontal becomes weak and erratic. Your ability to self-control and plan evaporates because the cortisol weakens the thorns, dendritic, in the most human area of your brain. You're losing your ability to be strategist to become a purely reactive being, trapped in a state of constant biological panic. You still think that this project deserves the affection of your neurons. If poison is cortisol, the second pillar of this process is structural. Let's talk about the hippocampus. This small seahorse-shaped structure is the region with largest cortisol receptor structure, the brain which turns it into the area zero of disaster. Hippocampus has a function. Dual criticism is the center of command of your memory, and at the same time, it is the handbrake of your stress. A healthy hippocampus tells the shaft to stop manufacturing cortisol, but when stress is constant, the hippocampus is the first to suffer. Damage is a deadly feedback loop. The more damaged your hippocampus is, your body has less capacity to curb stress. Excessive stress stops adult neurogenesis in the gyro. Dentate, you stop making new neurons. In an optimal state, your brain produces hundreds of fresh neurons every day to keep your mental acuity and your ability to learn. Under cortisol pressure, chronic, that factory comes to a complete stop. But there is something more visible in the MR is pruning. Dendritic cortisol causes the dendritic spines to physical connection points between your neurons retract. It is as if a forest leafy to become a toy of dry sticks, where information can no longer jumping from one branch to another. That's why you forget names. That's why you lose the thread of conversations. And that is why you feel that your mental acuity has evaporated. It is not age. It is that your hippocampus is losing its architecture, basic, and your hard disk is physically shrinking, limiting your ability to process new information. The third nail in the coffin is the disruption of biological integrity. Your brain has a elite test the blood-brain barrier. Work is to let it pass nutrients and selectively block toxins. However, stress chronic acts as a sledgehammer against this darkness, degrading the proteins that maintain the barrier sealed and increasing its permeability. Once the barrier seed microglia come into play in a healthy brain, brain. These cells are the street sweepers in charge of cleaning metabolic wastes. But when a molecule is detected because of permeability caused by stress, microglia enter a state. Aggressive pro-inflammatory. Begin to release neurotoxic cytokines, treating the fabric. Brain as if I had an infection that does not exist. This state of chronic neuroinflammation is the true biological cause of mental fog. Imagine trying to run inside a pool full of mud. Your electrical signals travel slower, your neurotransmitters degrade faster, and your brain devotes all its energy to an immune civil war. You are not thick. You're biologically inflamed. Every thought moves you twice as much energy as it should, consuming your glucose reserves and leaving you in a state of chronic exhaustion. I have not given you this dose of reality for you to surrender to fatality, but for you to go on the offensive. Neuroplasticity is your only way out, but it doesn't happen by accident. Requires engineering precision. Here is Protocol 0, designed to save your brain. First, radical cortisol management in technical dream. Nothing, absolutely nothing, overcomes deep sleep. You must understand that during the wave phase, the system is activated when the system is slow. Lymphatic, a network. Hydrodynamic cleanliness system, which until recent was a mystery to science. Imagine your brain shrinking too much too. Cerebrospinal fluid to bathe your neurons, widening the interstitial channels for draining proteins, beta amyloids, and cleaning. 8. Excess that causes excitotoxicity without a 7-hour technical sleep cycle. This cleaning cell does not open, and what you have when you wake up is not a rested brain, but an accumulation of waste. Metabolic processes that will continue to burn your synapses. Rest is non-negotiable. Is the first step of your reconstruction. Second, synaptic reconnection via B of NF. Let's use fertilizer, the most powerful factor known to biology. Neurotrophic, brain-derived, the fastest way to check its production. It is not a pill. It is to subject the body to stress. Controlled population. 20 minutes of high-intensity training, pushing your heart rate to the threshold limit, and aerobic force your brain to enter in mass repair mode. This peak of BDNF acts as a distress signal that stimulates the creation of new dendritic spines, forcing the hippocampus to reconnect the circuits that the cortisol tried to prune. You are physically reclaiming the lost territory. You are ordering your neurons to reweave the net that makes you smart, fast, and lethal. Third, zero inflammatory control and cellular autophagy. You must reseal the blood-brain barrier before fasting is too late. Intermittent is not a slimming tool, is a deep cleaning tool that activates autophagy, the mechanism by which your cells identify and recycle their own damaged components. Stop ingesting nutrients, forces your cells to eat their proteins. Defective repairing joints, narrowness of the barrier, blood-brain, and closing the door to toxins. Combine this with the dose, high omega-3 clinical purity. You will be delivering the fuel to your microglia necessary to put out the fire. Neuroinflammatory. If you do not apply this, the system will continue to degrade your cognitive capacity until there is nothing left of your competitive advantage. The Protocol 0 is not an option for those who have time. Is life insurance for those who cannot afford to lose their minds. Most people will spend the rest of their lives ignoring how it's owned. Biologiles, under the weight of a system they do not understand. You are no longer one of them. You no longer have the excuse of ignorance. We do not seek comfort here. We seek total control of our biological infrastructure if you are willing to accept the truth without anesthesia and to execute the necessary protocols. Subscribe to This Is Protocol 0. Optimization is not an option, is your only defense. See you at the next level.